What up, motherfucks? It's the hater back again. I'm actually going for a little bit of a walk. It's a really nice day out, and I'm recording this on my voice memos on my cell phone. So let's see how that works, you know what I mean? Because that might actually help out a lot, because I go on these little walks sometimes now that I'm bored with COVID, not doing anything, you know? I already work from home. I always have for the last few years, so I'm kind of used to it. But at the same time, it's like you can't go anywhere, right? So typically I'd go to a cafe or something. Now I'm just going for a walk. But it is what it is, you know what I mean? It's a nice day. It's a little hot, but we'll make do. So if you hear any background noises like cars and horns and shit like that, that's because I'm outside, motherfucks. So anyways, this video is going to be about something that I realized last night. I've been kind of talking about this here and there with my friends. I've mentioned it on the channel a few times, but basically I've come to realize yesterday that I can't really blame wrestling for all the things that are wrong with wrestling, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously, you know, we can lay some blame on people like the young cucks, you know, CM Punk, all these douchebags, right? But there is a greater problem with just TV in general, I feel like. You know, a lot of TV shows are just shit, you know? I always talk about how movies are now much worse than they used to be, like back in the 90s or even the early 2000s, right? But it's not just that, it's the shows are shit too. Now you might be thinking to yourself, hater, well, if the movies suck, obviously the shows are gonna suck ass as well, right? And you would be right, but that's not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking more about the format of TV shows and media in general, right? Like, let's take a quick example we're all familiar with, right? Cucky Rhodes' theme song, motherfucks. Or you know what I'm talking about. You know, especially the one that he has on like pay-per-views or whatever, you know, on like big events, where first of all, it's like some broad chanting like, oh, 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 for like 35 seconds, 45 seconds, you know what I mean? And then like, after 35 boring seconds of this broad chanting, you hear, wrestling only has one, whatever the fuck he says, like wrestling's got more than one royal family, and then the shitty theme song starts, like, never knew and never be, somebody once said to me, or whatever the fuck it says, you know, it's the dumbest theme song ever, right? But the point I'm trying to make is like, it starts off with like 45 seconds of introduction to the theme song, right? The implications being that after 45 seconds of hearing this like, you know, chanting and like kind of like epicness build up, right? You expect something awesome to happen, right? And then Cucky Rhodes comes out and you're like, oh, what a huge disappointment. And you know, you have to bleach his hair blonde to stand out. That didn't really work for him either, you know? But the point I'm trying to make is that like there's a lot of anticipation and build up in today's media, right? This is an example. So I was watching, what's it called? The Titan Games, the finals last night, all right, motherfuckers? Now, the structure of the game was such that there was essentially 6 challenges total, right? In the whole episode, there were going to be 6 challenges, which are about like a minute and a half each, you know, at most, right? Some of them are like 25 seconds, right? But the show is 47 minutes. Now, it would normally be 1 hour, but I was watching it on Hulu, so it's 47 minutes, right? So I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I going to watch here? I mean, like, obviously I fast forward and everything, right? But everything in the show, like 99%, not 99, but 95% of the show was just like people's backstories and The Rock hugging a bunch of people. You know what I'm saying? Like that entire show, that entire like fucking like premise of Titan Games is just The Rock promoting himself and hugging people. You know, like 95% of the time The Rock's either hugging someone or giving someone props, right? And it's like, hold on a second, all right? Like, I like The Rock as much as anybody, right? But The Rock is not this like, you know, exceptional athlete. You know what I'm saying? Like he isn't this guy that's like, oh wow, like The Rock gave me props, The Rock hugged me. He's just like an A-list star. Like this show could be done with Mark Wahlberg too. You know what I mean? It could be done with anybody who's an A-list star. But that's kind of the whole point, right? It's like TV isn't about TV anymore. Like it's not about what you're actually there to watch. You know, like it's just about the things surrounding it, right? It's just about that. So like America's Got Talent, I talk about that once in a while. It's all about what the judges have to say and about the storylines, you know, which brings me to wrestling, right? Because wrestling is inherently about storylines, but for some reason, wrestling is the only one that has strayed the other way. You know what I mean? Like wrestling is no longer about the storylines. Wrestling is just about the in-ring product, right? Things that should be about the quote-unquote in-ring product, about the product, right? Like Titan Games. You know, you look at Titan Games, you're like, what is this? Oh, it's a physical competition show, right? You tune in, and there's going to be people talking. They're actually going to be hugging a baby. You know, that's all you're going to see, right? And you're going to be like, what the fuck is this shit? But you still stay tuned, right? It was renewed for a second season, motherfucks. There's a reason why. Do you see what I'm getting at? America's Got Talent. Nobody gives a fuck about some 8-year-old singing. You You know what I'm saying? Every couple of years, there's some 8-year-old girl who's like, I want to sing, right? And she sings, and we're supposed to give a fuck. You know what I mean? But we do because it's presented in such a way where like this girl is like, given some sort of illness, or like her father's gonna die tomorrow, or some kind of shit like that, right? It's all about the storylines, right? But the thing that works with wrestling, the storylines, doesn't work with things like that. That's why shows like The Masked Singer have done so well, right? Because The Masked Singer takes all that shit away. It's just like, all right, dude, here's a guy dressed as a tree. He's gonna be singing. If you like him, you like him. If you don't, you don't, There's no theatrics behind it. I mean, obviously the people have to wear the costume, and the costumes are like intricate and shit like that. But there's no like, Tree's family like died in like a fire, like this character, like whatever, like Snowman, let's say, right? Snowman's family has cancer. There's none of that shit, right? It's straight up like, here's a goofy character called Tree. He's gonna sing against a guy called Snowman, and that's gonna be it, motherfucks. We're gonna see people singing, right? You're there to see the singing. You're not there to see the theatrics, right? Like if you're someone that watches something like Masked Singer, I like the masks. Like you're fucking weird, right? That's not the point, dude. But in wrestling, it's the only time when that stuff is supposed to be in the foreground. But nowadays, it's in the background, right? It's in the background, motherfucks. Background city. You have dumb shit like Otis. What the fuck's his story? Oh, he likes Mandy Rose. Yeah, it's been a fucking year, motherfucks. You know what I'm saying? What has he done since then? What the hell's going on? So that's what I'm getting at, motherfucks. The point is, it's not just wrestling that is failing, right? It's an inverse relationship between wrestling and other forms of media. Everything sucks. Like if you remember, even back in the day, honestly, like when I was a kid, on Sunday mornings they had like what's his name, Ryan Seacrest, like top 100 songs in the nation, right? He'd play one song, and then the rest of the show would be him like talking about a bunch of nonsense. I understand sponsored content and everything like that, but he's just talking about a bunch of shit. Like I go on my iPhone, I swipe left to get to the news, and it's like the most irrelevant shit I've ever seen in my life. It's like people don't even know. It's like, Vanessa Phillips like got divorced from like Brian Stevens. Like, I don't know who the fuck these people are. I don't give a fuck if Vanessa got divorced from Brian. I don't give a rat's ass about Vanessa and Brian. I don't even know who the fuck these motherfuckers are, right? But the point is, media is all about that now. It's all about the anticipation, right? The way that articles are written, right? It's never like this article's about this. It's like, you'll never believe like what this person did on, when they found like a stick up their own ass. Like it's that kind of shit, right? Or like, here's 8 things you need to know. Do I need to know them, motherfuckers? Do I really need to know them? Or can you kiss my ass? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying, That's the problem. Problem is, wrestling needs to take a cue from this other kind of bullshit, right? And build itself back up to what it is, what it's supposed to be. Vince Russo style wrestling. None of that Jim Cornette shit. Like 2 fat dudes just hugging each other. I don't want to see that. I want to see people like storylines, man. Storylines. And the way that's the strangest thing, because wrestling has gone the opposite direction. And other things have gone the direction of wrestling, even UFC. Look at that. It's all about storylines now. Nobody gives a fuck about who's fighting who. That's why nobody watches like Fight Night. Like the fights could be just as good, right? It's just 2 jobbers. Nobody knows about them. And there's no storyline. There's no hook, right? Wrestling needs a hook. You cannot sell people on fake performances every week. It would be understandable, like the circus, I love the circus. I'll go to the circus once every 7 years or so. They're saying I'm not gonna go to the circus every week for 3 hours. I ain't got no time for that. It's fake shit. So that's what I gotta say about that, motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's see if I can stop this shit. Only 8 minutes. What?